What? Was I stunned? Jesus Christ. Like, I don't even... Full fight, I guess. I mean... That's what reminds me of Nioh 2 maybe the most. Is fights like that. Although that was probably even more broken, let's be honest. Like, I don't think I was that broken in Nioh 2 at any point, to be honest. Like, I was broken, but not that fucking broken. Like, okay. That's insane. Like in Nioh 2, when I got very strong and, started fighting some of the bosses at during the later sections of the mid-game, I was basically just first attempting them and almost stun-walking them to death. Because of how strong I was, right? That's kind of what that just reminded me of. It's fucking ridiculous. But very fun, I guess. Outside of the fucking frame rate lag. If there wasn't this frame rate lag, I swear, my opinion of this would be higher. And not even by a small amount either. There is a great many good things in here. I wish this demo was on PC, really badly. Ah. We don't get to see a cutscene there. Dang. Survey available. Hope somebody takes part of that. Nice. So... Is there anything better here compared to Nioh 2? I think that's what we have to ask. It's not about, what my opinion about the game is necessarily, because I already know what my opinion about Nioh 2 was and Nioh 1. So, well, Nioh 1 is so similar to Nioh 2, but Nioh 2 is mostly better than Nioh 1, so Nioh 2 is the one we compare them. So, is there anything in here that is just better from what I remember compared to Nioh 2? I think honestly the best thing we have here compared to Nioh 2, except this kind of depends, but because of how these areas are layered in this game, and I'm assuming most areas in the game are gonna work the same way as this one, where it kinda gives you this kinda large area that you progress through slowly, and then eventually you're gonna find a story boss at the end, and then you go to the next area or something. I feel like that format there is... It's a bit more creative and a bit more freeing to and it's also a bit more bit more replay worthy and bit more exciting also the experience rather than the mission system in Nioh 2, which got boring extremely fast. And it's also better for the storytelling of the game to have these larger scale areas if they, know how to insert the story bits and the, lore bits correct in the area, which they didn't do in this area well, and they have never done that from my experience. Koei Tecmo games, or with these Nioh games anyway, Nioh 1 and Nioh 2. Okay, Nioh 1 at least had a protagonist, but Nioh 2 on the other hand, try to figure the story in that game low. Right? But yeah, I feel like the biggest strength that we have going on here is literally the departure from the same mission system that Nioh 2 and 1 had. That's like the one good thing that I see here. Because I feel like for me, like the mission system was a very boring thing. It was one of the worst things about Nioh 2. I do not like mission-based systems in games, where it's like a short area or like a short chapter, and then you get put back into like the main menu of the game or like the main hub or something, and then you go back. It creates such a disconnection from like the indulgence, I guess, to the fiction that the game is trying to portray. Because it has this like artificial like area somewhere where you just go back to prepare, before you go back into the real world, inside the game. So I've never been a fan of that really. But having it be this like kind of open zones that you experience, I like this a lot more. Though I am worried about one very big thing, and that is the amount of bosses. Because in Nioh 2, there was basically always a boss after every mission, and the missions weren't anywhere near as long as the open zone in this fucking area was. So there was a stronger frequency of fighting some boss that demanded your expertise and, demanded that you focus for like a certain amount of time, and just you get to really like, unload like the same way that I did there on that boss there. Which is very satisfying in this game. So that there is something that is a bit concerning. The amount of bosses, they are gonna be more infrequent with this kind of open zone system, depending how they implement like the side content. Because there is that one like, side boss yesterday that I smashed my head against, which the Mesuki boss, yeah, that's also in Nioh 2 of course, and probably in Nioh 1 as well, because why the fuck not? Like that boss, for example, like those side bosses, if they just implement them as like, some challenging area bosses, then, sure, I guess. But I feel like the boss experience could be a little too hollow in this game compared to Nioh 2. That's a concern too. But when it comes to the mechanics, I feel like the mechanics of the game need more time to mature, to be honest. I'm not sure about this like ninja and the samurai form. Like, I don't think we have literally enough substance in this game right now, or in this alpha demo, to be able to deduce if this system is actually only worse compared to Nioh 2 and Nioh 1. I think it requires more time. So I can't say more about that. That music though, like seriously? The music in that final boss, let me pull out something. Like, even this main menu music that, you shouldn't hear right now because I muted the track, but anyway. Actually, I need to mute it for my own damn self too. There we go. Okay, so now, if we go ahead and compare something, whose track was it? Was it William's track? Yeah, it is William's track. Okay, so do you hear this? Is this on stream right now? Yes, it is. This Williams track from Nioh 1, which also is somewhat in Nioh 2 also, I think. I don't remember where anymore. But this track right here from William was the one that was playing. It's a remix of that in this main menu of the alpha demo. And it's also the soundtrack that vaguely played also behind that Jakotsu-baba boss or whatever that was. Like, it was a remix of William's theme again. I wonder if they are A, lazy, or B, if they actually are insinuating something by playing a soundtrack for such, well, I would say probably from the Nioh series, probably the most important, you know, character. Because the Nioh 1 actually, compared to Nioh 2 and, well, Nioh 3, what we can do so far, which is a character creator, actually had a main protagonist, obviously. William, the sailor that was, you know, from the outside world that landed in the prisons inside Japan, you know, to forge his own destiny, right? So he's probably the most memorable character, and maybe that's what they are trying to like evoke with this music. But anyway, be whatever it is a nice soundtrack, so. Can't complain about that, I suppose, if they just wanna use same old, you know, good soundtracks, but yeah. I guess. I really hope that the demo goes on, I very much hope that the demo is gonna also go on PC as well. Also, I'm gonna do a small sanity check for you. You notice how much Nioh 3's demo there was stuttering? What a stuttery mess, am I right? Let's open up something that runs smooth, just so we get a sanity check here. It's got nothing to do with the software on the PS5, I doubt, or, you know, the hardware on my PS5. When we pick up some game that runs well, most of the time outside of 2 open world zones and particular areas in those 2 zones, that is. The Great Desert and the Wasteland have some laggy spots. Oh, look at that. Now that feels like 60 FPS at least. That's much more like it. Yeah, well, we can leave. Yeah, the alpha demo of that fucking game runs like a complete fucking train wreck. Now that shit is fucking horrible. It so does not run, it's insane. Like, Koei Tecmo needs to actually, like, figure out how, like, From Software has so, like, modest looking, like, you know, outdated graphics, but their games run easily, you know? Outside of maybe, like, you know, Elden Ring's, like, DLC areas, or, you know, Night Rain. Like, those two have pretty buggy, like, frame pacing, I think, from my understanding. Like, they do not want to run, like, a smooth 60 FPS a lot of the time. Even if you have the horsepower to run the game at 60 FPS. Like, what happened to me, for example, when I was on the Raoul plane in the Shadow of the Earth 3 DLC in Elden Ring, and I was just kind of testing. Like, despite of having enough... Actually, you know what, I might as well just load this controller. Seems like it requires some load. Yeah, anyway, when I was in... Yeah, when I was in the Raoul, like, ruins area, I suppose, or Raoul Plains, like the last area before you get into the Inir Elim and fighting Promise Consort Ronin and all that. That area, despite of me having easily enough horsepower on my GPU to run the area smoothly, it actually always dropped frames in certain locations for literally no reason that I can think of. And it was just doing it consistently, while especially like moving the camera or moving to certain like positions, even though there was leftover power on the CPU and the GPU, all of the cores even. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. But Point is, Koei Tecmo needs to figure out as to how the fuck they are unable to run like last generation graphical fidelity on their games, but have them be as demanding as UE5 games. Like, I don't understand how they do it that badly. Like, they need to fucking focus on this performance on their engine. It's so awful.